Hello everybody and welcome to my first wrap up of 2026. This will be all the books I read in January 2026, what I rated them, my thoughts, the plot line, everything like that, and then we get to pick my Feb TBR. So hope you enjoy this video. Let's get on with it, shall we? So in January I ended up getting to 7 books, which didn't see that coming honestly, because I was not in a slump, but I was reading quite slow at the beginning of the month. But let's get into what I read in January. First book I read in January was The Favourites by Lane Fargo, which is the first book club book in my book club with my sister and my boyfriend. It's just our little book club. Nothing big, nothing extravagant, just the way we like it. And this was my pick for January. I ended up rating this a 5-star. I loved this book. I loved the concept. People said it's a mix between Daisy Hates and like the interview style, and then Carrie Soto is back with the athleticism and like how it's about a sport and stuff like that. This follows Katarina Shaw, whose dream is to become an Olympic skater, and her partner, friend, boyfriend, whatever you want to call him, Heath. Now, they're on a roller coaster of a relationship. She's very dedicated to become a part of the Olympics. That's her one goal, and it's always been her goal. And he initially is like, yeah, I'm on board, I want to help you. And they just go through a lot of turmoil, a lot of partner changing because they're in it as partners. A lot of partner changes, a lot of, I would say, it's a lot of toxicity in a way. Not the typical, I wouldn't say not the typical toxicity, but like their relationship is just not working, and it's very clear from the get-go that something's off. But yeah, they go from childhood sweethearts to champion ice dancers. But yeah, the whole book, it's in an interview style. There's interviews from like this future show or future documentary they're doing, and then it goes like to the past. So it's like going back and forth, and I really enjoyed that aspect. I didn't think I would, but I really loved it. Short chapters, so that's already another win. But I will say, I know I rated it 5-star, but I hated every character bar one. Like, I loved this guy called Garrett, and he was one of the figure skaters as well, and his sister hated the sister. What I will say about this, they made it a point to make it seem like Katarina having her goals, which she stated from the get-go that she'd do anything to become an Olympic skater. They made it seem like her goals were the reason everything was falling apart, and she wasn't allowed to have goals, and she was kind of like the bitch. Whereas I think Heath was the real problem, and he just didn't treat her, I don't personally think, how she should have been treated. And there's so much drama in this, as there is. They go to the Olympics, but then there's injuries, and yeah, it's just about her being a figure skater, really, and him, and yeah, a lot of partner shifting, a lot of turmoil, and a lot of lies and deceit, really. And yeah, I feel like, I don't know obviously what that world would be like, but I feel like this would have been a very good representation of it. And I highlighted a couple of quotes. You can always be better, but don't let that stop you from carrying yourself like a champion. If you don't believe you're the best, no one else will either. You understand? I hated myself for the way I bent toward him like a flower yearning for the light. I relate a bit too much to that one. Love like a steady, warming campfire that keeps you alive in the cold. Love like a raging blaze that burns down everything in its path until nothing but ash remains. I feel like that was kind of them. They were definitely made for one another, but in a very bad way, almost. Like, they were so reliant on one another, and then so much stuff happened, so then they had to like rebuild their entire relationship. But then, yeah, a lot of twists and turns in this book, a lot of drama, but overall a 5-star from me. The next book I read was one of my top reads. Like, I was so excited to read this book, but I have been for so long. That is Little Women by Louisa May Alcott. But I ended up rating this a 4-star. Now, if you don't know what Little Women is, like, you're kind of living under a rock. It's one of those classics I've always wanted to read and just haven't. But it follows a group of sisters who are from the get-go extremely different individuals. It's very clear how different they are. The sisters are Meg, Jo, Beth and Amy. Now they're very different. I would say they're like kind of not too similar in age, but they're not like huge age gaps or anything. Jo is definitely the main character, I think. And this one, I think is like set, yeah, it's set before the movie. So you're like learning about this. And I guess if you learn about the characters in this, it's a lot easier to follow in the movie. Because in the movie, there's like a Laurie, who's this male friend that Jo particularly is very fond of, and like the whole group of girls are very fond of him, but she has a great friendship with him, and you can tell that she's like kind of in love with him. And then in the movie he ends up actually with the sister. So Little Women is actually based on this author's childhood experiences. I don't really know how to explain it. It's just them. I feel like the father's gone to like war or something like that, and it's the 4 sisters. One of them ends up getting really sick and passing, and Jo's kind of like very serious, I would say, and isn't like the typical person in that time, and she doesn't want to conform to like, you know, women aren't allowed to run and women aren't allowed to do this and this. She's like, no, women are more than that. They have minds, and they have their souls. And it's kind of like pointing out the fact that women are more than what they've been told to be. I feel like that is what this book is about. And yeah, each of the sisters have very different interests, different hobbies, everything very different about them. And I feel like in the movie, because I did watch the movie after reading this, in the movie it kind of leads on from the ending of this. I really did enjoy it, but yeah, rated 4-star. It's kind of it's obviously it's a classic, so the wording in this is very different to what I normally would read. Not that that's a bad thing. I found this, out of the classics I have read, was the most easy to follow. I just felt a little bit of a disconnect. It was almost like unfinished, the book, which I don't know if you can, there's multiple Little Women books, is there? I don't know if there's different versions or what, but I felt like it was slightly unfinished. But then when you watch the movie, it's like continuing the storyline, I think. So let's read some quotes. There are many Beths in the world, shy and quiet, sitting in the corner till needed, and living for others so cheerfully that no one sees the sacrifices till the little cricket on the hearth stops chirping, and the sweet sun-shining presence vanishes, leaving silence and shadow behind. I feel like, honestly, I related to something each of the sisters was saying, but particularly I probably related the most to Jo and the artist one. Can't remember her name. After I'd seen as much of the world as I want to, I'd like to settle in Germany and have just as much music as I choose. And I'm never to be bothered about money or business, but just enjoy myself and live for what I like. They, at one point in the book, all talked about what they would love their future to be like, and I felt like I related to a lot of things they were saying. Jo's eyes sparkled, for it's always pleasant to be believed in, and a friend's praise is always sweeter than a dozen newspaper puffs. Don't try to make me grow up before my time, which I feel like more people need to read that, but anyway. To be independent and earn the praise of those she loved were the dearest wishes of her heart, and this seemed to be the first step toward the happy end. Music was always a sweet consoler, and the good and dear people always do die. I think it was a very beautiful book. I would definitely recommend it, and I'm glad it was one of the first classics I've read, and I would love to read more of her work. But for Little Women, I rated it a 4-star. But the next book I read was not intended. I didn't plan on reading this, but my friend's boyfriend was talking about it, and I was like, you know what? I was drunk at this point in time, I'd add, and I always make promises when I'm drunk that I shouldn't be making, but he's like, I would love to read this book. I'm like, I have that book. I want to read that book too. And it is on my 26 books I want to read in 2026. So I was like, what about time now? But that is The Shining by Stephen King. Now, classic again. One of Stephen King's probably most well-known books. Correct me if I'm wrong. I could be completely wrong. But one of my goals this year is to read more of his earlier work, because I've said in previous videos a million times over, I know, but I've said how I've read his newer work, but I want to read some of his older work. And I have no excuse really, because I have probably 75-80% of his older work because my mum loves his books. So my dad even likes his work. So I already had all these books. So I ended up rating The Shining a 3-star. Now, that might be very controversial, and I apologize, but I also think it's because I really didn't want to read it yet, but I kind of made a promise to read it. So I had to read it, but I'm not saying this was bad by any means whatsoever. It was just not what I thought it would be. I thought it would be more intense and more scary, and it wasn't, and I found it very slow. I think that's why I rated it a 3-star mainly, because I found it very slow. I was intrigued to a certain extent, but it was slow. I've seen the trailer for the movie. I would love to watch the movie, but yeah, just fell a little flat for me. So if you don't know what The Shining is about, because I, to be honest, had no idea, it's about Jack Torrance. He gets a new job at the Overlook Hotel to be their caretaker over the winter because there's going to be a snowstorm, like an overwhelming amount of snow, and they need someone to look after the hotel. And him and his wife and little boy, who's 5, move into the Overlook Hotel over the winter break. And they're kind of moving there for a fresh start because Jack has had some issues with his son. He's gotten quite aggressive and hurt his son, and was an alcoholic, and he's just trying to become better. His wife is wanting him to become better, and yeah, he thinks this will be a good fresh start for him. He's also a writer, so he moves there and he's working on his writing as well. So their son is called Danny, and he gets this, like, he has this ability to see and feel the senses in this place that probably people wouldn't even believe. Yes, strange and terrible forces. He's a very gifted 5-year-old, and one of the people that initially was working at the Overlook Hotel has said to Danny, it's called The Shining. Like, you have this ability to see things that people wouldn't be able to see, and he's gifted in that way. Now, this book takes a very dark turn. It happened way later than I thought. Might I add, this book is way thicker than I initially thought it would be. It's nearly 700 pages. Does it look like it is? No, but it was. And it takes a very dark turn way too late in the book for my liking personally, but whatever. Yeah, but Danny has a gift throughout the whole book to see things that people wouldn't be able to see, and he's very gifted in that way, and he can sense, like, the bad, and stuff happens to him that no one believes, and he seems kind of nuts, so I'm not gonna lie. And it kind of takes a turn when he goes into one of the rooms in this hotel and he sees a woman that's dead in the bathtub, and then she becomes alive and she's, like, attacking him, choking him, and then from then on out, it's kind of like the mum kind of believes him, the dad does as well, but I don't know. From the get-go, something was a bit off about the dad, obviously, because he's trying to become better, not be an alcoholic and stuff. Takes a turn, and then he becomes insane. That's kind of how the book ends. It ended way quicker, like, wrapped up way quicker than I thought it would. I've heard that Stephen King doesn't like the movie as much. That's what I've heard, because they make it a point to make Jack seem like he's crazy from the get-go in the movie, but in the book it's definitely a build-up. Like, he's not crazy from the get-go. You can tell there's something off, but you think that's just because he's an alcoholic, but then it gets way more messed up. From probably 3/4 of the way through, that's when it starts getting really intense, which is what I didn't enjoy, because it was so slow at the beginning to the point I was like, this is kind of boring, and I was dreading picking it up. But then after everything came to a light, it made more sense. But 3-star for The Shining. I think it was a good way to start my classic Stephen book adventure, but I know I'll probably enjoy some of his other work a lot more, but not to say I wouldn't recommend The Shining. I can't wait to watch the movie. Now, the next book I read, I was so excited about, so excited, and that is Gone by Michael Grant, which I rated a 5-star as well. This is Bodhi's pick for me. He wanted me to read it. He thinks I would really enjoy it, and he was very much correct. It's a 6-book series initially, and he only had the last 4, not the first 2. So I was like, oh, well, I'm not going to be able to find them really. They're on Amazon, but, like, I didn't want to buy the whole box set if I didn't know enjoyed the first one. But then when we were away, I actually found the first two in an op shop, which is crazy because we were literally just talking about it. So then I think that's the sign I needed to read it. And I'm so glad I did, because I honestly think I'll be thinking about this book for a very long time. It's a classic, like I would say dystopian style book, but if you've seen The Society, it's very similar to that. I've heard people say it's extremely similar to Lord of the Flies. I haven't seen it. I would love to. Haven't watched it, but people say it's very similar. But basically, everyone except for the young, so teens, middle schoolers and toddlers, are left in this world with not a single adult. Everyone over 15 and over has vanished from this place. They're literally at school and suddenly their teachers poof out of thin air, and only people under the age of 15 are still in this town. World town. It's everywhere. I don't know if it's everywhere. I think it's just this town. It is just this town. But they discover they're under this dome, and yeah, they don't know what's happened, and they basically have to start fending for themselves. They dedicate a leader, and then there's people looking after the babies and the toddlers, and there's people that are firefighters, they've been made the nurse. They all get like a specific job, and it very quickly turns quite violent because the person that's made themselves like the leader is probably not the best choice. He's not a good person. And one thing that was really hard to wrap my head around was the fact that they were under 15. So they were killing each other, they were like abusing each other, beating each other, all this stuff, and I had to remember that they were under 15, because that was crazy to me. I was like, wow, this is like, I know obviously that can happen in the real world, but I was just like, it's just so baffling to wrap my mind around. I eventually did, obviously. But along with all of that is some of these kids have powers. Now, the main character is one of the stronger powered kids. Let me think of some of the examples. Extreme speed, invisibility. One girl can like read you if you have powers or not. I'm trying to think of the main character's powers, and then why am I not thinking? One of the kids can, this little boy with autism can like make you disappear and like travel. What's it called? When you travel to another area. I can't remember. I put the word. I can't remember anything today, clearly. But yeah, basically they all have powers. Now, I would say the two main characters, one's the leader and the other guy is, I would say, who people trust the most and who people think he's the one that's keeping them safe. People love him because in the past he had saved them from an incident occurring before all this world stuff happened. So I would say they're the two main characters, and now they do not get along, and that you find out that they're actually brothers. Now, this group of school kids are from the upper side of town, and where kids have been sent to this school if they've done something bad. So they're up in that town, and then these other kids are in this other town, so they kind of mesh. But the kid from the upper town, he's decided he's the leader, and everyone kind of has to follow his rules, whereas the other kid doesn't want to. And then they eventually have it out and fight. And yeah, they're trying to discover why you disappear when you're 15. Now, I guess this is a spoiler, but this book's been out forever, so like, boo-hoo. It comes to a point where it's about to be their 15th birthday. So they're twin brothers. It comes to a point where it's about to be their 15th birthday, and on your 15th birthday, you vanish. So they're trying to, discover why they're going to vanish. It's basically this. When you get to your 15th birthday, you kind of mind blanks, and you're put in front of a parent or a loved one, and they're going, come with me. And obviously the kids are missing their parents. They decide to go with them, and then they vanish. But they knew this was going to happen. They figured it out. So when their mind's blank, their mum that they share has come and said, come with me. And they're like, no, I'm not going with you. And the mum obviously gets very angry. You don't know what this force is that's taking them, nor do you know why it's really happening. All you know is there's a dome and these kids have powers. But yeah, that's the gist. It gets very violent. Like, obviously, because the parents just vanished, they have to go house to house to figure out if there's kids alive and dead, and they find a lot of dead babies. Very sad. Oh, one of the other powers is this girl is a healer, so she can heal pretty much any wound, any problem. Yeah, it got very weird. It did. There was a point where coyotes could talk, and like one of the boys lost his arm, so the healer healed it, but then he got like a tentacle. It was very wacky, but I very much enjoyed it. It's a good old dystopian book, like very typical dystopian, I would say, and I really enjoyed it, and I can't wait to read the rest of the series, and I'm so excited about it. I haven't been this excited about a book in so long, especially a young adult book. So yeah, 5-star for me, 100% recommended. I love this book. The next book I read was The Recruit by Robert Muchamore, which Bodhi picked up for me a while ago, and I ended up rating this book a 3-star as well. This is about a little boy who I think he's like 10 to 12, I can't remember exactly. I could be completely off, but his mother ends up passing, and he's got an absolute deadbeat of a stepdad. He hates him. He's just not the type of person he wants in his life, and he gets recruited by this program. This organization only hires a very small amount of children to be like undercover like investigators, cops. They're not cops, but like that kind of vibe, to like track down like terrorists and like criminals and stuff, and like bring them down because no one's going to suspect them because they're children. Once again, I found this book quite boring at the beginning. Nothing really happened until over the halfway mark, which was disappointing. But it follows this one kid who's like being recruited, and he's going through all these tests to become a part of the Cherub organization. But yeah, nothing happened to over the halfway mark. The first half of the book is him going, like, talking about how he's quite troubled and his mum's just died and he's in lots of homes and he's just getting in trouble, and then he gets recruited, and then he's doing the test, but he doesn't go into the field until like the very end of the book, which I didn't enjoy. But yeah, it's a big series. I will not be continuing, unfortunately, but I feel like it'd be good if you were a younger boy, which Bodhi read this when he was a younger boy, obviously, but I feel like more dedicated to that kind of crowd. So rated this a 3-star. Wasn't bad, just not my cup of tea, unfortunately. Then I ended up reading The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe by C.S. Lewis, which I ended up rating a 4-star. I really enjoyed this. It's another one of those classic books that a lot of people my age would have read when they were younger. I've never watched these movies, never read the books, but this year I have said, I know, I want to read more classics, want to go back to my childhood a little bit more and read some of the books I didn't read when I was that age. I don't really know why I didn't read. I probably just read the typical girly books when I was younger. I really wanted to read the Narnia books, and this is obviously the first one. I know you can get the whole book, which I initially wanted, but I couldn't find it. But this is the first one, and it's, if you don't know, then Narnia is the land beyond the wardrobe door. So this, I think it's 2 girls and 2 boys, siblings, and one of them enters the wardrobe, goes into this magical world where she meets a faun, and he's like, we're under a spell by this evil white witch who's making this land permanently winter without ever being Christmas. And she goes into there, she comes back out, she tells her siblings they don't believe her, then another one of her siblings goes in, sees everything, comes back out. He's kind of like the White Witch's handyman at that point. He believes everything the White Witch is saying, whereas she knows that the faun is telling the truth. Comes back out, he lies to his siblings, says that their other sister's crazy, but in the end they all end up going into this world, and they end up helping the people, the creatures and stuff that live there, take down the White Witch and help get rid of winter. And they end up becoming like princes and princesses of this world. And the lion in this book is kind of the good, I would say good witch compared to the White Witch. He's not a witch, obviously he's a lion, but he's the good character in the book compared to the White Witch. And she's taken over from his land. It is the lion's land. So that's what Narnia is about. I didn't actually personally know what it was about, but now I've read it, I know, obviously, and I really did enjoy it. It was a nice and easy read. It was under 200 pages, and I just love a magical world. I really do. Nothing like it. I've read it in one day. Haven't done that one with a book in a while. Just a nice, easy 4-star read for me. Can't wait to read the rest of the books in this series, and I can't wait to watch the movie. Now, the final book I read in January, I actually finished this morning, and that was I Kill by Giorgio Folletti, which I unfortunately rated a 2.75. So, very low rating to begin the year, sadly. At the end of the Fable like book year, they give you like a wrap up of your books, and it will say your most controversial like opinion of a book, and I feel like this could be it, because this is an average of a 4-star. But what I will say with that, this is a translated version from Italian. This book's initially Italian, so everyone on Fable that has read it is Italian. I'm not saying that, I don't know if, like, I'm not saying that's to do with really anything, but I never saw a review for the English version, so I don't really know. But basically this is about a serial killer in Monte Carlo who's killing the rich and the famous. Now, he's killing them brutally. I think he ends up murdering maybe 10 people. I could be wrong. But he's killing them brutally, like cutting their faces off and keeping their faces. So it's just a skull. It's very brutal, I'm not gonna lie. You find out it's like to do with like God, and he's thinking it's like God's like given him this right to do it, and he's meant to be doing it. But after each kill, he announces it on this radio station. And yeah, there's these FBI agents, Frank and Nicholas. They're trying to hunt him down and figure out why he's doing it and what's happening. Again, this could be my own fault, because I don't know. I feel like because it was one of the last books I read in a month, I just wasn't interested, and I kind of just wanted it over with. It wasn't a bad book. I know I rated 2.75. I think this could be really good for the right audience, but I just did again find it a bit slow, unfortunately. The only reason I found it slow is because I love when a thriller book is so quick and fast paced. I think that's why I like Frida McFadden. I don't like when it's this like thick, unfortunately, because I feel like thrillers are meant to be easy to read, and I found sometimes this wasn't as easy. And I didn't like reading it at nighttime because I was really scared. And I watch Criminal Minds at nighttime, but I was really scared to read this at nighttime, so I never did. But that's it, really. He's just killing the rich and famous. And one of the FBI agents is kind of dealing with his own grief because his wife had committed suicide. So he's like blaming himself for that because he didn't know she was depressed. So he's blaming himself for that, and then also having to discover who this murderer is before he keeps killing. And I think it's a very good conclusion for the FBI agent, and he kind of comes to terms with what's happened with his wife, and he's moving forward with someone else. And yeah, had quite a beautiful ending for a thriller, I'm not gonna lie, but rated unfortunately 2.75, could maybe be a 3. They were the 7 books I read in January. I think I had a very mixed month, so it should be interesting what Feb brings me. But this is what the exciting part of the video is. This year for my Feb TBR, I'm actually going to get Lacey to pick it. I'm going to give her prompts, and I'm going to give her, I think, 3 or 4 prompts, and then I'll let her just pick 2 books maybe. And yeah, she's going to pick my TBR for me, and I think this could be very interesting because I think she'll pick more books that I have either had on my cart for a while or just haven't wanted to pick up yet, because we're similar but different in book genre taste. So I think she might pick me some romance potentially if I really have any. But start off a new theme, I'm going to be getting Lacey to pick my Feb TBR, so I'm going to go get her and let's get to picking. Okay, I've got Lacey and she's going to pick for me
her whole TBR.
Well, yeah, but 5 prompts, and then she gets 1 free pick. So we'll do the prompts first. First prompt
is a YA book. Okay, I'll probably be better at picking
I'll probably be better at picking genres than you, because I feel like I have more of a grasp on what's
I
what.
just don't really give a shit, to be honest with you. I have a few. I can say a few. Oh yeah, that one. I have the next Gone book. I probably have a lot.
Okay, so I'm going to pick Write Me For You by Tilly Cole for Alex, which this is the last book I reckon I had to cry to. And I knew exactly what was going to happen. It's like
And it's a shorter book too.
Yeah. It's like two teenagers who go to this, guess like a clinic, like stay-in clinic for their cancer treatment, and it's kind of
so is it like
two different timelines, like saying when they recovered or if they didn't, like that kind of thing.
So
I really liked it. I gave it a 4.5.
Sounds like that movie we cried to, Cole Sprouse.
Oh, 5 feet apart.
Yeah. Next one is Cover You Hate. So Cover You Hate.
Okay.
There might be a few. Some of these covers I fucking hate.
But you probably like the book.
Yeah, well, that doesn't matter.
I really hate any of the covers, but I'm gonna pick this one because it's just boring.
Oh, wow.
Sorry.
Disrespectful. That's fine with me. You know how I feel about Freddie McFadden.
So I'm gonna go with the inmate.
Meant to be very good.
Okay. I haven't only read one or two Freddie McFadden books, but I know Alex loves them, so that's
exciting.
That's a short one too.
Wow, we're on a roll. Okay. Prompt 3.
Oh, that one wants to be read. Okay. A standalone. Okay, that should be
Very
easy, I hope.
Yay!
I know she really wants to read this. So isn't it about sisters and grief?
It's about sisters going through grief. Yeah, they're 4 sisters going through grief. They're very different.
From what I heard, the sister that died was the one who was like the glue.
Yeah, holding them together. I feel like it would be good to read because
and I know
gone through grief.
And I know she wants to read it. So then if I put it on TBR, then
it's on my 26
definitely
books
read it.
for 2026. So
okay.
I'm excited. 4th one.
See, nothing bad.
The book you predict will make you cry. Oh, that wasn't good. A book you predict I'll cry from. Or not make you sad. Make me sad, yeah. Because I haven't cried from a book before, so I know what I'm gonna pick. No, I know you too. I know too.
This is probably one of the sadder ones. They're all sad. Let's be real. They're filled with trauma. I'm picking Redeeming 6, which is the 4th book in the Boys of Topman series, and it's Joey Neff's 2nd book.
This thing is, I don't not enjoy this series. I've enjoyed it. I haven't read any of 5.
They're just
oh no, I have read 1.
They're thick books. This is my favourite in the whole series.
They just are very intimidating.
This is a 6-star.
Not even the.
This is 900 and something pages.
No. Not even.
The book doesn't look that big. Yeah, it is. Because the pages are so thin.
Not even the storyline's intimidating. It's just the. Well, I guess it's the mix between the size and the storyline. It is they're confronting storylines, but I think they need to be talked about.
Yes, exactly. One more prompt and then I get a free pick.
Yeah.
Which I kind of just picked my free pick.
Good. Okay. 5th prompt is unpopular book.
I feel like you probably have a couple.
Yeah.
Or is it just books I haven't heard anything about?
Well, yeah, books you haven't heard many thoughts of, or an unpopular one.
I'm just going to go with a book I haven't heard anything about, which is Dreams Live. Is it just Dreams Livening? I feel like it's another word. Anyway, who's this by Rebecca Ross, which is the same author as Divine Rivals, which neither of us have read, but this is also the same author as.
When I bought it initially, because it was cheap, really cheap, but when I bought it initially, the lady at the bookstore said she really loved it.
And she's also the author of Wild Reference, which I have.
I haven't heard a single thing about it,
Me
so
either.
it should be very interesting. But this is the 5th book of my TBR, and now Lacey gets a pre-pick. So
okay, I feel like for my free pick, I should pick you.
But I feel like
another fantasy or something because that's your main genre and you only have one.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, good thing my cart's full. That's
me about to pick another romance. This will help you finish a duology. I preferred the second one, which was an unpopular opinion, but it focuses on the perspective of grief rather than the person dying.
If only I had told her.
Which I did. Has 3 perspectives.
I read the first one, 4.5.
Yeah, I read the first one 4 and the second one 5.
I really did enjoy the first one though. It made me
Yeah.
tear up.
This has 3 perspectives, and the best friend's perspective was my favourite because you can tell he's really in the depth.
And from
of
what you told
grief.
me, I reckon I prefer this one too. These are the 6 books Lacey's chosen for me.
And she was worried.
I was very worried, but I'm very excited to read them all. I
Pick
feel like
Alchemite.
specifically these 3 I'll get through quite quickly. These ones,
I feel like you'll read that quicker than you think.
yeah, probably. Say thanks, Lacey. See you soon.
When she tells me she hasn't read any of them.